Hi, I'm Nicholas Burtner with School of Permaculture, and today I'm in the middle of an unfinished Keyhole Mandala garden. So what we're going to go over is what a keyhole garden is, what a mandala garden is, a planting regimen for a keyhole and mandala garden, what they are, and a guide on how to construct them. So let's start out with why a keyhole garden? Well, in order to understand why a keyhole garden, let's go to just a regular garden that's done in rows, done in nice, neat rows. And even if we put a permaculture lens on that garden, we would look at things as slopes. So we're on an urban, suburban property right now where we have one mandala garden in the front yard on this side, and we have another one behind the camera on that side. So if we chose to go in rows here, we would look at the slope of the land, and this one has a slope like this, but it's very, very gentle. And what we would do is we would put rows, on contour this way. So as it rained, it would harvest that rainwater passively. So that's great. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What it lacks, though, is the function of being in one place. So when you have those rows, say it's right here in front of me, I would get on one end and say I was harvesting and planting on a moon cycle, okay? Whatever regimen that we're using to harvest and plant for gardening. I would get down, I'd bend over, I'd get on my knees, and I would do what I needed to do, harvest or snip the plant, remulch, plant in another seedling or seeds, and I would do my work, and then I would get up, and then I would move over and do the same thing. And then I would get up, and I would move over and do the same thing until that row was done. And then I would move on to the next row, and to the next row, and so on. And that, not even taking consideration yeah. So when we're out in the rural sites, it's the wind and the trains and whatnot. On the urban sites, it's the cars with the heavy mufflers. So that doesn't even take into consideration whether it's single reach bed or a double reach bed, which basically means, if you're going to design a garden bed for a client or yourself, that's designed to your arm reach. So if I get down, you can see this section is a single reach. That means I can reach the whole bed with one arm's length. If this was the middle of the bed that kept going, you wouldn't want it to be bigger than me being on the other side and my arm reaching into the middle. That would mean it's a double reach bed, and that's how you find the length for single reach and double reach. So not even taking that into consideration, that's what we would do on a standard row garden. So what a keyhole garden does is it says, okay, hey, let's take that row and all that linear feet that takes up quite a bit of space and a lot of work to maintain, and let's take it and turn it into a circle, right? Let's turn it into a circle. Now I could walk in, I could get down in one area, and I can plant and harvest and trim and remulch and do settings and do whatever I needed to do all in one location. I could do it here, I could do it here, 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 and with minimal movement. So it looks at the function of how to go in and what are you actually doing in the work environment there, and not just in nice straight rows. So we do that, and we take up actually much less overall square footage by making the linear feet circular. So since this is just one space, a relatively small space in an urban suburban environment, we chose to use the whole yard for one large keyhole garden. And then when we added these fingers on the edges, which basically these are smaller keyhole gardens on the edge, it gives it the mandala shape. Now if you Google mandala gardens, you'll see many different gardens. Some of them are sheet mulch, some of them are tilled up. All of them are good. They're really nice and aesthetics, but when we do it in this particular pattern, this is done for not only aesthetics, but for function as well. So on the inside, I have one big bed, and then on each fingerling outside, we have multiple beds there. So that gives it the name mandala. When these are planted out, And you walk across these, or when somebody's walking their dogs or just walking, this is beautiful. It's very aesthetic. We recommend, you know, almost every suburban, urban site, or even zone 1 garden to have multiple keyhole gardens and mandala gardens like this, because they are very beautiful and they just perform so well. So that's what a keyhole garden and a mandala garden is. Let's go over the basics of how to create it. So before anything was laid down, we came and we looked at the orientation and the slope, and we said, okay, hey, look, let's go pick up some sticks from this redbud or that mulberry tree back there, and the ones that were already on the ground, and let's get a lot of them. You know, they don't have to be big, but these are our guidelines. These are like our chalk, and so this is like our chalkboard, and those are like our chalk. So we go and we say, okay, is it going to be single reach or double reach? We chose to go single reach on this, and we outline the bed all the way, the outside and the inside. Right? So if you came and looked at this when it was just at that stage, it would look like a, you know, a random assembly of chaos sticks, but they were ordered in such a way that was the outline of the shape of the mandala garden. Then after that, once we have the shape, we would come in with a shovel around it, shovel the shape into just the outline of it, not really pulling up anything, just giving us a kind of cutting through the grasses. Then at that point, the sticks are no longer needed. You could leave them in the middle for hugelkultur or whatever you wanted to do. But we would then take the grasses up, turn them over, and then start you know, sheet mulching with old carpet, clothing, or cardboard, or newspaper. We'll put a link to a sheet mulching video on how to build sheet mulch. But it doesn't have to be sheet mulch, but I tell you, I've done gardening and permaculture implementation on arid climate, temperate climate, and the tropics, and in between Mediterranean and subtropics, cold and cool temperate, and I can't find a better gardening method. It slows the weeds in the tropics where they're out of control, and it provides water harvesting in mass in the arid climate. It is the best as far as I can see today, but we're always evolving. So that's the outline of how to create the keyhole and mandala garden. Okay, and you know, just some random other tips out there. On the edges, we're actually going to put comfrey around. You see there's some comfrey back here. We're going to put cuttings in, so, and some lemon grasses. Probably not some canna lilies, but that will stop the encroaching Bermuda grass. And if you wanted to, we could just wipe this whole thing of Bermuda grass and just start fresh. But you know, the grass is actually pretty nice to look at in the middle of all this if we can use the other biology to kind of slow it down. All right, so now a planting regimen. So when we're learning about gardening, one of the first things that we learn in permaculture gardening is we want to put things close together. And you know, when I first started, and probably a lot of us, and I still do it, we do a lot of companion planting and polyculture that is everything. So I might have a tomato next to a melon, next to onion, next to lemongrass, next to peppers, and basils, and all in one like area, which is great. The problem with doing that, there's a lot of benefits to doing that. The problem with doing that is harvesting. So how do I still get the benefit of doing row planting and just planting all the same thing on one row and polyculture all at the same time? So one of the methods that you can use is say, hey, look, on this finger of the keyhole garden, I only want tomatoes here, right? So we'll plant them, and we plant them really close, you know, 10 to 12 inches apart. And if you want to, stake them to where they'll go up, do a tomato hoop or whatever you want to do, or just let them go on the ground how they used to do it back in the Andes. Either way, you know, whatever you want to do, stacking and packing. And say that goes to about here. And then from here to here, this whole section then is now broccoli, right? And then this whole section is kale. And every single finger is something different. So then there's some different things that we're due to that as well. So on this section, we might plant them all 12 inches apart, going vertical like this. And in this section, 12 inches apart, 10 inches apart, vertical, or diagonal. And in this one, horizontal, like this. So they all are kind of rotated differently, right? The reason for that is if a pest comes in, it's very confusing because it's not used to seeing all those different shapes and patterns of plants. So it's a very disoriented way of companion planting that, you know, kind of throws you off if you have more than 8 eyes, which we only have 2. And then what you'd want to do for crop rotation, if you'd like, is you just move. So we did tomatoes first season here, now the tomatoes go here for the next season, and then they go there for the 3rd season, and we could rotate things around. And that's one of the strategies that we can use for gardening. So that is what a keyhole and mandala garden is, a general idea on how to build one, and a general idea on a way to plant them and to give it a strategy and to suppress some invading grasses. So if you have any questions, get in contact with us. Go to schoolofpermaculture.com. Look at our new courses, by the way, too. We got a really awesome permaculture design course that has you in mind. It's totally new. We've combined a bunch of different ideas together, came up with a concept. Go to our Facebook page, like us, get in contact with us. If you want us to come out to your property, we can do that too. So that's pretty much it. We love you guys, you rock, and we'll see you next time. Take 3, take 3.